All right, I think we're good to go now. All right, this is the first live stream for EUTW, EVP Warfare for Arma 3. And I am Zodius. And you are looking right now at one of the faction bases. I'd love to be able to show you the rest of the map right now, but I'm just going to kind of cover over some of the things that, occur in PvP warfare and, some of the things that we can do. So I think the best way to sort of explain where PvP warfare has kind of come from is back in the day we had a mod called T Times. T Times for Arma 3, which opened up, I think, around about the alpha and was later abandoned. And the EUTW group picked it up and managed to sort of tweak and mold this into a shape that was more along the lines of something that was reminiscent of games like Battlefield and Project Reality and those kinds of things, but within the Army universe, and kind of took a take on it. We also have the other unique thing in here, that the progression system that we have in here is not something that happens over the course of, it's not an XP-based system, it's more of a money-based system. And if you have a look in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see that there's a credits counter. And credits go up in the form of depending on what you do, there is a base salary that you get every minute of 250 credits. Every time your team captures a point, everybody on the team gets 500 credits. You get credits for kills. You get credits for finding mines. You get credits as a medic for healing people, killing people, all of those things. And when you have that cash, you can basically take it and purchase various types of vehicles, armaments, different uniforms, helmets, all of that kind of stuff. So we have basically there was the three main factions in Arma when we first started, from CSAT, NATO, and AAF, and each of course having their own unique sort of things on there. And I have bad video settings, so this is not good. And I think we're back on now. Okay, I just had one problem. We're still testing up the stream here. I just got some new internets today, so I wanted to get this all hooked up and try doing some streaming for the first time in like forever. So I wanted to bring that back on and just give a bit of a test here and get it going. So anyways, this is EUTW PvP Warfare for Arma 3. We have been in development for 3 years now, constant updates. You can check out our website at www.eutw.net. We have a wiki there that's not up to date with the latest Tanoa content. There's a lot of stuff to put in there, but right now we'd rather focus on getting the stuff in game, getting the maps created. So this is currently on a map called Volcano. Or actually, sorry, this is Tanuka. This was one of the maps that I put together for us, and I should probably go back to here. So we can look at the map, and we're not going to defeat sides and stuff like that. So Tanuka, all the points on these maps are connected. As you can see from these various points, you have a headquarters, which is has three protection zones. You have an inner protection zone where you are completely invulnerable. You have the one on the outside, which you're still invulnerable, and even on the outside one too. But the middle one is really the one that you want to focus on. And if jets or helicopters or anything's to fly through here, we have nice little defenses to help destroy those guys when they try to come through and take you out at your base. But there are protection methods. That wasn't always the case, but as you know, that can always be a little something that's a little bit tricky to sort of deal with. The cash system. I was talking about the cash system before. So you earn cash over time as the game ends up going on. You have the cash that ends up getting earned is for you. It doesn't go to any central pool. It doesn't go to an individual. It's how you want to spend it. And you can either be selfish with it and not really help your team, which ends up happening sometimes and turning the tides, or you can sometimes get on chat and ask your team, go, hey, what is it you guys need right now? What is it you want to do? What would help the most? Is it buying AT rockets? Is it buying AA rockets? If there's a lot of vehicles on the field, to take them out. This map specifically, oh man, I'm totally bad. Yes. So this is one of the larger maps, and I should probably cover that part of it specifically as well. We have two different types of modes. We have our regular mode, which includes the full complement of vehicles all the way up to jets. And jets, of course, have a much higher price associated with them. They're fast movers. They're hard to shoot down. Um, there's a lot that goes into it, and it also takes a lot just to get there. And in some cases, depending on when you start in the game and what your starting cash is, it can take anywhere from, if you're good at killing people, and you can kill a lot of people in a short period of time, you can get up into jets in a relatively short period of time. Um, Hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. So it is a bit of a time investment. As you can see at the timer at the very top of the screen, you can see that this mission's been running for about 15 hours. I'd need to go, if you go to our site at stats.eutw.net, you can have a good look at it and see the kind of stats that we track, all of our post-mission stuff. We have a whole set of stats that are being tracked on there from the mission. We haven't moved into the personalized stats yet, but we're going to get there eventually. Hopefully in the next maybe month or so, where we'll be offering those to our donators specifically. We're not out for creating leaderboards. Leaderboards have their own sort of things, and that's really not what our game mode's about. So we have a few other people that have just joined on and are watching now. You're watching EUTW PvP Warfare for Arma 3. You can visit our website at eutw.net. If you have Arma 3, check out more info there. Check out the forums. Check out the wiki. Lots of player videos hanging out on YouTube. We haven't really done much in terms of original content, but we're a game mode that's been around for at least a good three. Well, actually, it's going to be 3 years this year that we've been running. So right now, I'm in the OPFOR base. Both sides have a base that looks very similar to this. Everybody spawns here. This has the full complement shop that's contained inside of it, so that you can purchase all of the gear that you essentially need to, be effective out on the battlefield. I'm going to refrain from pulling up the map, even though there's a delay, as much as I can, because I really don't want to give away too much about what's going on, especially in terms of vehicle positions, or if somebody wants to stream snipe or do anything like that. But what I was talking about before was, the currency and all of the stuff that you accumulate in the game for killing people over time, and you're able to purchase all of these items in the shop, from anything from weapons, vehicles, any of that kind of stuff. So when we move out into the field, and I can in spectator here kind of move on and start focusing on some other players. It happens to be nighttime right now. So I've got to keep the NVGs on. This is taking place on this is one of our new maps on the latest update for Tanoa. More of a jungle setting rather than the Mediterranean setting that we are in. It's a jungle setting in the South Pacific rather than the Mediterranean setting on the Greek islands of Stratus and Altus. So it's created some new challenges for us in terms of vehicle movements and those kinds of things. Well, the one thing that we do, I mean, we're not after the whole milsim thing here. It's a really a jump in, jump out type of gameplay. You can join in at any time. If you leave the game and you've accumulated a bunch of cash and you've accumulated a bunch of weapons, if you come back later and you join the server, you will maintain what you had when you left. Now, the only case where it gets a little, strange is when you kind of slip away from that and you go and switch to another slot. Like if you are a rifleman and you buy a lot of rifleman gear, then you switch out and then you go to sniper. You will actually be refunded for that cash specifically for the gear that you cannot use. There's 4 different classes that are available in the game. You have engineers, you have medics or combat lifesavers, riflemen, and engineers. Riflemen, of course, make up, I believe, about 50% of the total available slots. And then snipers are broken down into, I believe, 5 apiece. There's 5 medics, 5 engineers, and 5 snipers. And each has, the ability to access specific kinds of gear. So the whole objective of the game, and as you can see if you go to the website, again, I don't want to pull these up, but if you go to the website and pull up some of the maps and go to the missions tab in the wiki, you can see how all of the points are connected. Much like games like, Battlefield and even, Squad or Project Reality, you have in Battlefield more like, oh, I can take that point way at the back, or I can take that point way over here. Um, there's more of a strategic element, which ties into more of what Project Reality and Squad are like in this. But what we feel we have over some of those types of modes and or some of those games is that there is what is going on? Is there? I think there's a big pair drop that's happening over here. Uh, is that you have a lot more customization in this. I mean, I really like Squad. I think the core of the gameplay is awesome. I think there's a lot of merits on it. I've played a ton of that, and I plan to go back to it when they bring in vehicles and see what kind of changes they've made to it. But it's the way that they sort of limit their players in, we do it via a cash-based method, and some people don't like this specifically because well, it's an Achilles heel or it's a vice or it's something along those lines. But when you're dealing with a public server type of environment, you have to be able to focus on not only the very smart people who want to play as more of a collective, but the new players coming in that don't understand those mechanics, the solo type players that want to come through as well. And we're not trying to, limit or restrict that behavior in any sort of way. But we also need to have things that are connected to this. And, I mean, I think Squad and Project Reality go through, similar sort of things. But in both of those games, we have connected points, and those are connected on the map specifically, as I was kind of showing before. So you can see the sort of area that I'm looking at here and where I am right now. There's a lot of people taking that point specifically, but you're not able to take those specific points unless you have the point that is next to it or connected to it. And how you ultimately win this game is by taking all of the points. And so what that does is that doesn't place anything like time limits. It doesn't place anything like, there's no ticket system. There's no time limits on it. We've had games, and I think there was one we posted on our forums, and we've had ones go longer over the years, but since we started tracking stats data in behind it, we had one game that really went on for, I think, about 11, 12 hours, and we had all the stats behind it. It was kind of fascinating to go back and look at it and see, what it was around it. And not only is this interesting to the player base, and there's also individual stats that we're looking at, working in for our donator program, but it helps us make some, a lot better decisions than going, well, Joe says that, these things are overpowered and, we need to fix that up. Um, and with that kind of data behind it, we can make those decisions in a much better way than we had been able to previously. Man, there is a lot of stuff flying around here now. This game has been running a long time, so I'm sure there's a ton of cash that has been injected into the economy here. So it looks like you got jets and helicopters and all sorts of stuff, but normally I don't go in and sort of have a look at how this stuff is kind of playing out. But it's always interesting to see how these games play from a standpoint of externally like this, as opposed to when you're simply on the ground. Ah, here we go. So it's going to get a little bit choppy. So our servers are located in Europe, which for me, as you can tell by my accent, which is very North American, um, I connect to these servers. Fortunately, Arma handles ping pretty well. I ping about 150 to the server itself. We don't have a massive U.S. player base, but we have 4 servers running all of ourselves. We've attempted to do stuff in the U.S. before, but it didn't quite pan out as well as we'd like. We're purely donator funded. We don't, you don't get anything special uh, for donating. I mean, we have a couple of things in terms of perks, and you don't get kicked from the game, and but there's nothing in terms of being able to log in. We hope to potentially offer some of our stats in the at least personalized stats in the future to our donator groups to be able to offer something and keep our servers running. So this is a bit of a comeback here. It's Bravo 1-3. So that's good. Orca transport. So our servers currently support and have supported for the better part of a year now up to 60 players. And some people ask us to bump it up, and some people ask us to leave it the same. And we're kind of a back and forth. And as technology, of course, improves, we have the ability to do that. And the one thing that we've focused on for a longer period of time is uh, just trying to make sure that it's running as evenly as we can for everybody. Arma can be a little bit of a challenge. I think that Bohemia has done some. Oh, look at that! He can hit that nice little tree over. Um, I thought he. I guess the jet's shooting at him here. I didn't realize he had anybody in there. So, like I was saying, we have 60 players, and 30 per side, of course. And we're looking at the possibility of potentially upgrading those. We're upgrading that, maybe bringing it up to 70 or so players, but we're not really after the how many players can we cram on a server and have our server lag to crap. We want to make sure that we're giving as great as an experience as possible. With Tanoa has come some definite complaints from some people that I used to get 40 and now I get 20. Um, I've noticed a little bit of a drop on my own machine, and it's pretty beefy. But I can understand where people are coming from on it. And Tanoa offers really something that's much different from Altus and Stratus, where you have these canopies, and which make it one. I mean, it's thick forest. It's hard to move the vehicles through it. And two, it's much harder for choppers to spot people, but it also makes it, on the flip side of that, it's much harder to find things like MHQs, which leads me to another part of the system. So people are like, well, how do you get into battle? How do you get into game? How do you get to the fight? So there's a number of ways that you can get in and get to the fight, and I think the first big one is fast travel, and fast travel can happen. We've experimented with a few systems over the years. The first and foremost piece is what we call MHQs, or mobile headquarters, and mobile headquarters are basically in the form of trucks, and they've gone through a few different iterations over the years. But now we've settled on some of the bigger trucks for a number of reasons, which is posing some extra issues on Tanoa for the reasons I just talked about before with the thick brush and the canopies. And so what you're able to do with those is anyone can jump in those vehicles, they can drive them to the front line, And you want to put them in a position. You don't want to gate crash the middle. Can sometimes be a valid thing in some cases, and most of the time not. It's not really a personal vehicle to go, oh, I'm too lazy to run or walk to the flag, but you can quite easily figure out what the dynamic is, find out what your team is. People in general on here are pretty responsive to, where should I put this, or I don't know what to do, especially if you're a new player. Um, Other than that, like many other games, people are going to get mad otherwise if you don't play the game. So you have the mobile headquarters. You can teleport to those from two locations. You can do that one from the headquarters that I was showing you before. I showed you at the beginning of the video where we were. There's two flagpoles there, and you can walk up to those, basically scroll your mouse wheel in the action menu, and then pick the flag that you want and spawn on that location specifically. And spawn on whatever location that you want. So, no, well, not that you want, but you are limited by MHQs. You can go from your base to your MHQ. You cannot travel back anywhere from your MHQ. We tested that system out, and it basically cost the matches. It was really quick leapfrogging. You get a team that knows what they're doing, and they can essentially leapfrog MHQs like crazy fast. So points, as we've seen before, like points like this. So slums. So slums is now dropping. You have two guys in the middle, and another guy's contesting here, or one guy in the middle. So it's slowly going down, and I'll explain a little bit more about that system in a few minutes. Travel can also happen from flags, like you see slums here. So if that flag was at 100, you are able to walk up to that and then fast travel to either another flag that is above 75 tick points, or another MHQ, or you can go back to base. Now what there is each time you make that jump, there is a 60-second timer that gets thrown in front of it. And that 60-second timer prevents you from being able to fast travel again for that 60-second time period. So thing is, from HQ to flags that are at 100 to any of those locations, and one way to MHQ. Once you're at the MHQ, there is no going back unless you go to a flag or kill yourself and go back and do it that way. So flags, and when we talk about, there's not really a ticket system in here where there is a flag tick system, and every single flag has 100 ticks, and they're all connected to either one or several other points. In this case, this flag has two connections on it, which one that goes here and another one that goes here. And as you can see, there's quite the battle going on there. Bring my camera to something a little bit more interesting. Where is this guy? So a lot of people really like the fact that there's the lush forests that are contained in here now. So points have, like I was saying before, points have ticks, and each flag has 100 ticks. There's no there is kind of like a neutralizing a flag, and neutralizing technically happens at around 75. But when we talk about neutralizing a flag, we talk about the flag not being able to be spawned at. Once it goes below 75 tickets, so 74 or below, nobody is able to spawn on that flag. Now, when you spawn at a flag, you are not spawning in the middle. When you are not spawning in the middle, you're spawning at a random location that is chosen, I believe, within, I want to say, I can't remember what the setting is now. They may have tweaked it between, I think it's like 100 meters or something, 100 to 120 meters at a random location around there. We are looking at changing that system. It's especially kind of frustrating when you get to some points and you're like, I want to spawn here, and then you spawn out in the middle of an open field in the middle of a crossfire between some of your buddies. That's probably one of the worst things that can happen. But we're looking at some revising those systems in the next version. Tanoa added a lot of content for us in terms of what we needed to add in terms of weapons and uniforms and factions and all of this kind of stuff to be able to match what was in there. Especially since the aesthetic in terms of the browns and the greens, and we also created kind of separate sub-factions to be able to play into this, which are based on NATO and based on CSAT. I think actually these ones are more American forces, where we were using more of the British stuff in in Altus and Stratus. We got a tank on the field. What is that? Oh, and yeah, they got, Force got 2 armored vehicles on the way in now. They got the T-100. Looks like they got the Tigris back there as well, which is a anti-air tank. Let's get some thermals on here, see what he can see. Fortunately, it will not let me go thermal when I do this. Should be able to release the free cam here. Oh yeah, he's engaging now. I do have a pretty long delay on the stream. I think about 100 and maybe it's like 80 seconds or something like that. So it's not to give away too much crazy information. But now that that tank's engaged, it's and the AA is engaged, I think they've pretty much given it away at this point. So matches can last anywhere from the shortest I've seen recently, especially when Tanoa came out, and up till now is like, I think maybe like 45, 50 minutes on some of the smaller maps, and up to, I mean, recently maybe like, and I calculate the numbers not from, oh, one person joined and played for 2 hours, more along the lines of when the server is about 20 or over until the time that the match ends. So you're looking at anywhere the matches can go on for anywhere's upwards of 10 hours in some cases, though that's not been, it's pretty rare. Depends on the layout, depends on the team. You also have to understand, is what I talked about before in terms of your cash gain, in terms of what you have in cash, and when you leave the server, that cash, of course, as the pool of cash that you have for your team ends up going down. In a map like this, versus what I talked about earlier about light maps and regular maps have everything from jets to helicopters, tanks, all of the heavy vehicles. We also have light layouts, which typically take place on smaller type layouts where you can almost run between the points, but it's more of a focus on infantry and IFVs. Looks like he took most of these guys out. Oh, voice sitting over in the bushes here. There's a couple people watching. I'm doing this more of a stream test. If you're just joining in, this is EUTW PvP Warfare for Arma 3. You can visit our website at eutw.net. If you're in Europe, probably find servers being full during prime time. You can search in the browser for EUTW in the game browser itself, and you'll pull up one of our 4 servers. During the week, you'll find, typically, especially right now, since it's only been a week since Tanoa was released and Apex was released, you'll find, a large number of people playing from starting at about 12 noon CEST and then extending itself to much later. So in some cases, depending on how the match goes on and what the motivation is, and if there's a vacation the next day, you'll be able to jump on and play with people. And like I said, even in Arma, I mean, Arma handles ping relatively well. better than better than a lot of other titles out there. I have a pretty good experience overall. Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but you know we have servers that are powerful enough to run Arma efficiently, and they're also fairly centrally located in Europe. This is one of the pack guys, the Polish armored something. Anyways, they do a cool little mod themselves. Void plays on here quite a lot. Theirs is more geared towards more of a competitive audience. I believe it is called Mace. I'm not just here pimping my own stuff, but yeah, you should check that out too. It's pretty cool. These guys have been playing on the server for a long time. And what you'll find here in general is that the overall engagement that happens on the server is you'll find a lot of vets at play here. I mean, we're not a big group. We don't have a lot of people that simply just roll through. Most people who get on are here. Sometimes, I mean, if you want to get on and play for 30 minutes, 30 minutes always turns into 2 hours. If you want to get on and play for, if you want to get and play for an hour or two, I mean, it's perfectly fine. And like I said, we have gear saving systems and money systems in there to be able to, money saving systems to be able to handle a lot of this stuff. So that if you do leave and you come back and that same game is going on, you're going to find that it's you're able to keep and maintain that stuff. Unlike the olden days when you would get kicked off when you had 50,000 credits and end up nowhere. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Cannot figure out why these. Oh, I think these are actually our own tags that are showing up in here specifically. And as I was saying before, so regular and light maps. Regular maps have jets, helicopters, all the attack choppers, the full complement of vehicles, and that's actually at a more reduced price because we have that span that people can spend uh, whatever they want on their whatever they cash on. But the second thing that we have is we also have the light maps as well, which take place on smaller ones. And the complement of vehicles that you have on that is a little less tighter, more focused on infantry and IFVs and helicopter transport. I believe the Titans are also removed as well. So your vehicles will last a hell of a lot longer than they did before. That must be that jet in the air that's doing that. They just got their MIPS. So MIPS are something I haven't talked about yet. MIPS are basically IFVs that are mobile insertion points. So much in the same way that MHQs are just unarmed vehicles and unarmed trucks that respawn on a regular basis, players can buy infantry fighting vehicles which have teleporting or fast travel enabled on them. And that was something I missed from when I talked about fast travel specifically. So it's there's kind of a balance you want on there. I mean, you really don't want to start taking IFVs into the middle, but at the same time, I mean, you can sit quite far out, and I mean, you can peg guys off from several kilometers away, or you can come in close and get your guys a drop. Depends on the point. I mean, it's definitely a more of a tactical decision that you need to make while you're on the field with the vehicle and deciding what you want to do with it. But as this guy just found out. I don't know what he's shooting at. Oh yeah, he's got someone close to him. Did he kill him? I think he got him. Yeah. Is it a vehicle? Yeah, so we have a guy here who's hanging out by the tank. That's still up. I think that's Elvis. Yeah, I'd love if LT Elvis was flying a helicopter right now, I would totally be following him. We have a couple of, we have a, not a couple, but we have quite a few good guys, and we have some guys that I refer to as our premier chopper pilots, like Lieutenant Elvis and guys like Melbo as well, who play on here regularly. That, I mean, these guys can come in and land on a dime. I don't think this guy knows what to do with this tank. I wouldn't know either, but he's also, he looks like he's got somebody on that gun on the top too. Yeah, he's got him in there too. HQ Alpha was hit. Yeah, Blue's still hanging in there. Blue's doing well. Blue, ever since NATO, has not really been having a good time over the last little while. Yeah, that Jet's trying to get him, but this canopy is really kind of preventing him from doing this. Alpha 1-1. His chopper's out. No, I think he was just healing up. far I can move out from him. That's part of the thing with the 3P cam. Yeah, it looks like I'm limited with how far I can go out. I don't know what these guys are. Oh, that's that tank in the forest again. I don't know if these guys realize how close they are to each other. Oh, well. We know who won that one. So there's a lot of coordination that goes into this, but at the same time, I mean, it's a public server, so you know, it has a flow back and forth. It's not serious. I mean, yes, there are game rules and things that we have that, you know, we'd like you to kind of abide by, which are, you know, basically meta elements that have formed over the years and good and bad practices and things you do and do not do. Yeah, they're all trying to hit this tank, I think. Not happening. I think his tracks might be busted. Still good. That's one of the bigger elements on... Ooh, 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 what are you doing? Like I said, that's one of the bigger elements that we've had on Tanoa, where it's much easier to kind of sneak around. And actually, this is another point worth noting is that all of our servers have first person on, and first person only, shall I say. Third person, totally get it, totally understand, totally know why people do it, but at the same time, we prefer the first person on elements. And when you get into scenarios like this guy would not be able to do this in a third person scenario. There is no way. There'd be somebody jumping out, he'd be moving. He doesn't even know that he's next to him. Unfortunately, this guy does not have any kind of explosive on him specifically to be able to do anything worthwhile. He may have taken out the cannon. I don't know how many guys are in this tank. Get down, get down. Little does he know, I mean, he can literally just crouch down or lie down next to the tank and he'll be fine. He won't even be able to be seen. But he seems intent on that. We can see inside the tank. How does Arma do it? Oh, they make people crouch in here like this. Man, these guys are ballsy. I hope they have. Even with the satchel, you're not going to be able to take out that tank. You'll probably blow track off of it and hurt it a little bit, but yeah, you either need some get some titans in there. All right, well, this was good for a first test. I got to jump out for a bit. We'll do it again at some other time, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be doing more of this in the future. Something a little more structured. I kind of went, oh, okay, I'm kind of done with this, so let's give this a go and see exactly how it works. One thing I would love to do is see if I can get a proper spectator slot in here. I don't like showing the map. It gives away a little bit too much. All right, thanks, folks.